The coffee was still hot when it hit Vincent Harmon's face. Eleanor Mason had lived 76 years without raising her hand to anyone, 40 years teaching third grade at Jefferson Elementary, 12 years as a widow, a lifetime of choosing peace over violence, kindness over cruelty, patience over anger. But on this Tuesday morning in the Copper Bell Cafe, something inside her finally broke. The breaking point came when Vincent Harmon squeezed her arm hard enough to leave finger-shaped bruises on her papery skin. When he leaned close with breath that smelled of whiskey and entitlement. When he whispered that her dead husband would be ashamed of her stubbornness. When he mentioned her son, the one she hadn't seen in 8 years, and called him worthless army trash, probably dead in some ditch. That was the moment Eleanor Mason stopped being a patient, peaceful woman. The coffee was Folgers, black, no sugar, the same coffee she drunk every morning for 50 years. It was 180 degrees, hot enough to burn, hot enough to make a man scream. Vincent Harmon screamed. His hands flew to his face. The expensive suit he wore, the one meant to intimidate an elderly woman into signing away her family's land, was now stained brown and dripping. His eyes were shut tight against the scalding liquid. His mouth was open in shock and pain and rage. Eleanor stood from the booth. Her purse was heavy in her hand. Inside were her reading glasses, a worn leather wallet, photos of her late husband and her daughter who died too young, and a small framed picture of her son in his army dress uniform. She was leaving, walking away, refusing to sign the papers that would steal her home. Vincent Harmon's fist came out of nowhere, not a slap, a punch, full force. The kind of punch a man throws when he wants to hurt someone, when he wants to break them, when he forgets or doesn't care that he's hitting a woman who taught children for 4 decades, a woman who had buried a husband and a daughter, a woman whose bones were brittle and whose skin was thin. The sound of his knuckles connecting with her face was captured on camera. So was the sound of her glasses shattering. So was the sound of her body hitting the table, then the floor. So was the silence that followed. 40 people in the Copper Bell Cafe that morning. 40 witnesses. Not one of them moved. Eleanor Mason lay on the floor with blood pooling beneath her face. Her left eye was already swelling. Her lip was split. A cut above her eyebrow bled freely, mixing with the spilled coffee on the worn linoleum. Vincent Harmon wiped his face with a cloth napkin. He looked at the woman on the floor, looked at the crowd of frozen faces, smiled. "That's what happens when old ladies forget their place," he said. Then he walked out. The door chimed behind him, that cheerful little bell that announced every customer. It sounded obscene in the silence. Maya Rodriguez was 24 years old. She'd worked at the Copper Bell Cafe for 3 years. She'd seen bar fights and drunk men thrown out, and once a guy pulled a knife. But she'd never seen anything like this. Her phone was already recording when Vincent first grabbed Eleanor's arm. Something her mother taught her. Document everything, mija. Rich people lie. Now she had 43 seconds of footage. A man punching a 76-year-old woman in the face. The woman falling. The blood. The silence of 40 cowards. Maya's hand shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. "Someone call 911, she managed to say. Her voice sounded far away, hollow, like it belonged to someone else. She ran to Eleanor, knelt in the coffee and blood, touched the old woman's shoulder gently. "Miss Eleanor, can you hear me?" Eleanor's eyes fluttered open, glassy, unfocused. Blood dripped from her nose, her lip. She tried to speak, but only made a small sound of pain. "Don't move. Help is coming. No." Eleanor's hand grabbed Maya's wrist, surprisingly strong despite the trembling. "No ambulance. No police. They work for him." "Miss Eleanor, you're bleeding. You need help. Listen to me." Eleanor's voice was suddenly clear, sharp. The voice of a woman who'd spent 40 years commanding classrooms full of children. "Sheriff Pritchard takes money from Blackwell, has for years. You call the cops, they'll arrest me for throwing that coffee. That can't be true. That can't be legal. This is Dusty Ridge, honey. Everything's for sale." Eleanor tried to sit up, winced, gasped. Her ribs felt broken. "Maybe they were. Help me up. I need to get home. You need a hospital. I need to not be here when Pritchard shows up. Help me or Get out of my way. Maya looked around. The other customers were shuffling now. Guilty faces, mumbled apologies. Someone handed her a stack of napkins. 40 people. Not one of them had lifted a finger while a woman was beaten in front of them. Maya made a decision. Okay, I'll take you home. But if you pass out, I'm calling 911 whether you like it or not. Fair enough. They made it to Maya's car. Eleanor moved like she'd aged 20 years into 20 minutes. Every step was agony. Every breath was shallow and careful. But she refused to collapse, refused to show weakness. Not here. Not in front of these people who'd watched her bleed and done nothing. Maya drove slowly through the streets of Dusty Ridge, past the hardware store and the old movie theater and the post office with its faded flag. This town had been her home for 24 years. She'd grown up here, gone to school here. But looking at it now through Eleanor's blood on her hands, it felt like a place she'd never really known. They want my land, Eleanor said quietly. Her voice was thick. Her mouth hurt too much to move properly. Who does? Marcus Blackwell, billionaire developer from Vegas, wants to build a casino resort. Already bought 14 properties around mine. Mine's the last piece. The water rights. Without my land, his whole project dies. So he sent that man to force you to sell? Vincent Harmon, Eleanor touched her swollen eye gingerly, been harassing me for months. Today was the worst. Why didn't you tell anyone? Who would I tell? The sheriff's bought, the mayor's bought, the judge's bought. Blackwell owns this whole town. Everyone except me. And now I don't know. Eleanor looked out the window at her town, the place where she'd taught generations of children, where she'd buried her husband and her daughter, where she'd raised her son. I just know I'm not signing those papers. This is my home. My husband built our house with his own hands. My daughter took her first steps in the kitchen. My son learned to ride a bike in the driveway. Blackwell can't buy that, not with all the money in the world. They pulled up to Eleanor's house, small ranch-style home, built in the 1950s, white paint peeling in places, American flag on the porch, flower boxes under the windows with geraniums Eleanor's late husband had planted years ago. Maya helped Eleanor inside, got her settled on the couch with ice for her face, found the first aid kit, and cleaned the cuts as gently as she could. I recorded it, Maya said suddenly. The whole thing, from when he grabbed your arm to when he walked out. Eleanor lowered the ice pack, her one good eye focused on Maya with sudden intensity. Delete it? What? No. Miss Eleanor, this is evidence. Delete it now. Why? Because if you post that video, you'll have a target on your back for the rest of your life. Eleanor's voice was flat. Final. Marcus Blackwell is worth $2 billion. He owns judges, senators, police chiefs. You think a cell phone video is going to stop him? It might. People are angry when they see things like this. People are always angry. Then they forget. They move on. And the people who made them angry are still standing, still winning, still destroying lives. Maya stared at her phone. 43 seconds of footage. A man beating an old woman. The kind of thing that should make the world stop and pay attention. My mom always says, staying quiet is how evil wins. Your mom is right. Eleanor's voice softened. But that doesn't mean she's brave or that you are. I can't just do nothing. You can survive. That's not nothing. They sat in silence. The ice pack dripped water onto Eleanor's house dress. The clock on the wall ticked steadily. Outside, Dusty Ridge went about its business. People went to work. Children played. The sun shone down on a town that had learned to look the other way. Finally, Eleanor spoke again. I have a son. His name is James. Maya waited. He was in the Army. Rangers. 20 years of service. Good man. Strong. Brave. Everything a mother could want. Where is he now? Gone. Been 8 years since I've seen him. Since I've heard his voice. Why? Because I told him to leave. Eleanor's voice broke slightly. Told him I never wanted to see him again. What happened? My daughter, James's little sister. Lily. She died in a car accident 8 years ago. Drunk driver. She was 23. I'm so sorry. James was deployed when it happened. Afghanistan, he got emergency leave but didn't make it back until 6 hours after she died. 6 hours too late to say goodbye. That wasn't his fault. I know that. Eleanor closed her eyes, but I was hurting. grieving, and when I saw him at the funeral, all I could think was that he'd chosen the Army over his family, over and over, every deployment, every missed birthday and holiday and moment. And you told him that? I told him worse. Eleanor's tears mixed with the blood on her face. I told him his daughter had called for him while she was dying, called for her daddy for 3 days, and I asked him where he was, why he wasn't there. Oh, Miss Eleanor. He left that night, drove away, and never came back. I've called his old friends, his Army buddies. No one knows where he is, or if they do, they won't tell me. Why are you telling me this? Because if I'm honest, Maya took a breath. If I'm really honest, I always hoped he'd come back, that somehow he'd know I needed him and he'd come home. But he doesn't know you're in trouble. No. Eleanor opened her eyes, and I don't have any way to reach him. Maya looked at her phone again, at the video, at Eleanor's beaten face. What if, she said slowly, what if we didn't have to find him? What if he found you? What do you mean? I mean, if I post this video, it's going to go everywhere. National news, maybe international. If your son is out there, alive, he'll see it. And then maybe he comes home. Eleanor stared at her, at this young woman with her phone and her hope and her dangerous idea. You could get hurt. You could get killed. I know. Blackwell will come after you. I know that too. Then why? Maya thought about her father, deported when she was 12, thought about her mother working 3 jobs, thought about every time she'd kept her head down and stayed quiet and hated herself for it. Because I'm tired of watching good people get hurt while everyone looks away. Because someone has to do something. Because if we don't stand up now, when do we, Maya? Eleanor was quiet for a long time. Outside, the sun was setting. Inside, shadows grew longer across the worn furniture and family photos on the walls. Post it, Eleanor said finally. Are you sure? No, but do it anyway. Maya's hands trembled as she pulled up her social media. Wrote a caption. Her voice was steady, though, when she read it aloud. This is Eleanor Mason. She's 76 years old. She was assaulted today because she refused to sell her family's home to a billionaire developer. 40 people watched and did nothing. I'm posting this because someone needs to see, someone needs to care, someone needs to help. Please share this. Please don't look away. She hit post, and everything changed. The video reached 1 million views in 2 hours, 5 million by sunset, 20 million by midnight, 50 million by morning. Hashtag Justice for Eleanor exploded across every platform. News vans descended on Dusty Ridge like locusts. Reporters knocked on doors. Camera crews filmed the Copper Bell Cafe like it was a crime scene, which technically it was. 3,000 miles away in the Bitterroot Mountains of Montana, in a cabin with no electricity and no running water and no internet, a phone rang. James Mason hadn't spoken to another human being in 47 days. That was the point. No distractions, no connections, no reminders of the world he'd left behind. Just the wilderness and the silence and the slow grinding work of trying to forget. He was 48 years old, looked older, gray in his beard, lines around his eyes. Scars on his hands and chest from 20 years of military service, 2 decades of following orders, 2 decades of watching friends die, 2 decades of coming home to a family that eventually stopped waiting. The phone was a burner. Only 3 people in the world had the number. 3 people he trusted to never call unless it was truly important. It rang 6 times before he answered. Yeah. His voice was gravel and smoke, rough from disuse. Ghost. The voice on the other end belonged to Marcus Patterson. Army Ranger, retired now. They'd served together in Iraq and Afghanistan, saved each other's lives more times than either could count. If Hawk was calling, something was wrong. What happened? Your mother. James's hand tightened on the phone. Everything inside him went cold and hard and military. What about her? Check your messages. There's a video, then call me back. The line went dead. James stood there in his cabin, staring at the silent phone. His heart was doing something it hadn't done in years. Racing, pounding, the rhythm of trouble. He opened the message, pressed play, 43 seconds. He watched a man he didn't know grab his mother's arm. Watched her throw coffee in the man's face. Watched the man's fist connect with her head. Watched her glasses explode. watched her spin and fall, watched her lie there bleeding while 40 people did nothing. James played it again, and again, and again. His hands started shaking, his vision blurred. Something was building in his chest, something black and hot and murderous. Something he'd spent 8 years trying to bury in these mountains. Something he thought he'd finally killed. Rage, pure, primal. The kind that makes men do terrible things. He called Hawk back. Who is he? Vincent Harmon, works for a developer named Marcus Blackwell. Billionaire out of Vegas. They want your mom's land. She won't sell. Where is she now? Home. Refused to go to the hospital. You know, Eleanor, James did know. Stubborn, proud, strong enough to survive losing a husband and a daughter and a son who abandoned her. Is she safe? For now. But Ghost, this video's at 60 million views. The whole country is watching. Blackwell's going to have to respond. How? Don't know, but men like him don't back down easy. And your mom's sitting in that house alone. Silence. Long silence. James looked around his cabin. The books on the shelves, the wood-sawed bow, the rifle on the wall. 8 years of peace. 8 years of hiding. 8 years of trying to become someone who didn't fail the people he loved. I'm coming back. You sure? Hawk's voice was careful. Last time I saw you, you said you were done. Said you'd never go back to that life. I said I'd never go back to my mother. James's jaw tightened, but someone just put their hands on her. Someone made her bleed. So yeah, I'm sure. How many you need? How many can you get? Hawk was quiet for a moment. Then James heard the smile in his voice. For Eleanor Mason? For Ghost coming out of retirement? Brother, I can get you an army. Just need a team. 15, 20 good men. People I trust. I'll make calls. Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. Old Rangers, Marines, SEALs. Men who remember what it means to protect the innocent. Tell them defensive only. No offensive action unless forced. My mother wouldn't want blood on her land. And if they force it, then we finish what they start. Copy that. How soon can you move? Tonight. James was already packing. One bag, light, military efficient. I'll be there in 18 hours. Ghost? Yeah? Your mom told you to leave 8 years ago. What makes you think she'll want you back now? James stopped packing, looked at the photo he kept hidden in his drawer. Him and Eleanor and Lily at Disney World, 10 years ago, when everyone was still alive, still whole, still a family. She doesn't have to want me back. She just has to let me protect her. And after? After I make sure she's safe. After I make sure the man who hit her understands what a mistake that was. After I deal with Blackwell. After all that? After that, I don't know. Maybe I come back here. Maybe I finally do what I should have done 8 years ago and stay with her. Maybe I stop running. Maybe. Definitely. Good. Hawk's voice was warm, proud, because that woman raised a good man, and it's about time he came home. James hung up, finished packing, walked outside into the Montana wilderness. The sun was setting, the sky was on fire, red and orange and gold. He thought about his daughter, Lily, 23 years old, dead for 8 years. He hadn't been there when she died, hadn't heard her call for him in that hospital room, hadn't said goodbye. He couldn't fix that, could never fix that. The guilt would follow him forever, but his mother was still alive, still fighting, still refusing to surrender her home to men who thought money made them untouchable. He could fix that. James Mason climbed onto his motorcycle, an old Harley he'd rebuilt himself during the isolation years. He kicked it to life. The engine roared. The sound echoed across the mountains. 8 years ago, he'd ridden away from his family, from his mother, from everything. Now he was riding back. And heaven help anyone who got in his way. The ride took 18 hours. James stopped only for games, didn't eat, didn't sleep, just rode. Wyoming, Utah, Arizona, mile after mile of highway, empty desert, stars overhead, the motorcycle screaming beneath him. Every mile he replayed the video in his head, his mother's face, the punch, the fall, the blood. Every mile the rage burned hotter. By the time he crossed into Arizona, the sun was rising. By the time he reached Dusty Ridge, 29 other men were already there. Army Rangers, Marines, Navy SEALs, all retired, all responding to Hawk's call, all ready to protect an old woman who taught third grade for 40 years and refused to let a billionaire steal her home. James pulled up to Eleanor's house just after 8 in the morning. The house looked the same. White paint still peeling, American flags still flying, geraniums still growing in the flower boxes. But there were bullet holes in the windows. James's blood went cold. He was off the bike and running before his mind caught up. Through the front door, into the living room. Eleanor sat on the couch. Hawk was next to her. A medic James didn't recognize was checking her vitals. She looked up when James burst in. Mother and son, 8 years of silence, 8 years of guilt and anger and grief, 8 years of words left unsaid. Mom, that was all he could manage. One word, broken and raw, James. Eleanor's voice was steady, stronger than he expected. Her left eye was swollen shut. Purple and black bruises covered half her face. But she was alive. She was okay. I saw the video. I didn't ask you to come. I know. I don't need you to save me. I know that too. Silence. Hawk stood quietly, left the room, gave them space. But I'm here anyway, James continued. His voice was rough. Not because you need saving, because I need to make sure the man who hit you never touches you again. Eleanor's eyes filled with tears, the first tears she'd allowed herself since the attack. You look older. You look tough. Always did. Come here. James crossed the room, knelt in front of her. She reached out with a trembling hand, touched his face, traced the new lines, the gray in his beard, the years she'd missed. I'm sorry, James whispered. For leaving, for staying gone, for not being here when you needed me. I'm the one who told you to leave. You were grieving, you were hurting. I should have understood that. You were grieving too. I should have seen that. They looked at each other, really looked, saw the pain they'd both carried, the guilt, the love that had never died despite everything. I missed you, Eleanor said. Every single day for 8 years I missed you. I missed you too, Mom. So damn much. Then why didn't you call? Because I was ashamed. Because I thought you hated me. Because every time I thought about picking up the phone, I remembered what you said at Lily's funeral, and I couldn't bear it. Eleanor pulled him close, hugged him for the first time in 8 years. I didn't hate you. I was angry. Angry at the world, at the drunk driver who killed my baby. And I took it out on you because you were there, because I could. It's okay. No, it's not. Nothing about what I said was okay. You were serving your country, doing your duty, being the man your father and I raised you to be. And I punished you for it. James held her, his mother, small and fierce and unbreakable. I should have been there when Lily died. You were 7,000 miles away. There was nothing you could have done. I could have tried. She died, James, Eleanor pulled back, looked him in the eye. She died because a drunk driver ran a red light. Not because you weren't in the hospital room. Not because you were deployed. She died, and you couldn't have stopped it. Then why does it hurt so much? Because you loved her, and love always hurts when we lose it. They sat together, mother and son, healing wounds that had festered for 8 years. Finally, James stood. Who shot through your windows? Don't know, last night, around 3 in the morning. 3 rounds, missed me on purpose, warning shots. Military ammunition? Hawk says yes, someone with training. James's face went hard, cold. The soldier replacing the son. Where's the team? Scattered around town. Hawk's coordinating. Defensive positions, surveillance, making sure no one gets to you. How many? 30 so far. More coming. 30 men. For me, 30 men who remember what it means to protect the innocent. Who remember that just because you're powerful doesn't mean you're right. Eleanor touched his arm. James, I don't want violence. I don't want blood on this land. Neither do I. But if they come at you again, I'll do what I have to do. Promise me you'll try other ways first. Law, evidence, courts, I promise. But Mom, yes, if they force my hand, I will not hesitate. You understand that? Eleanor nodded slowly. She understood. She'd raised this man, knew what he was capable of, knew he would burn the world down to keep her safe. Just come home alive, she whispered. Whatever happens, come home alive. I will. That's a promise I'll keep. James walked outside. The morning sun was bright, warm, the kind of Arizona day that made tourists think about moving here. But James wasn't thinking about the weather. He was thinking about the bullet holes in his mother's walls, about the video of her being beaten, about a billionaire named Marcus Blackwell who thought money made him untouchable, about a man named Vincent Harmon who needed to learn what happened when you put your hands on Eleanor Mason's family. Hawk appeared beside him. "What's the plan, Ghost?" James watched the town. Dusty Ridge, population 2,800. Small, quiet, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where people looked out for each other. Except they hadn't looked out for his mother. "First, we secure the perimeter. No one gets within 100 yards of this house without us knowing." Done. Got motion sensors and cameras up already. "Second, we gather intelligence. I want everything on Blackwell, his company, his finances, his associates, everything. Rodriguez is on it, former Marine intelligence. If there's dirt, he'll find it. Third, I want to talk to the sheriff. Find out whose side he's on." Morrison? Hawk shook his head. "He's bought. Blackwell owns him. Then we go around him. FBI. State police. Someone clean. Already reached out to an old contact. FBI agent in Phoenix. She's interested." "Good." James turned to face Hawk. "And fourth? Fourth? I'm going to have a conversation with Vincent Harmon." "Ghost, that's not defensive. I'm not going to hurt him." James's smile was cold. "I'm just going to make sure he understands the situation. That my mother is off limits. That Dusty Ridge is off limits. That if he values his life, he'll leave town and never come back. And if he doesn't listen, then I'll make him listen." Hawk studied his old friend, saw the determination, the rage barely controlled beneath the surface. The man who'd led them through impossible missions, who'd never left a brother behind, who'd do anything to protect the people he loved. "Okay, but you're not going alone. Don't need backup for this. You're getting it anyway. Brothers don't let brothers walk into danger alone." James nodded, grateful despite himself. "Tonight then, after dark, we find Vincent Harmon and deliver a message he won't forget." The sun climbed higher, the temperature rose. Dusty Ridge went about its day. People shopped, worked, lived their lives. But change was coming. James Mason was home, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Copper Bell Cafe closed at 9 that evening. Maya locked the front door and turned off the lights. But she didn't go home. She sat in a booth near the back window and watched the street. Vincent Harmon arrived at 9:30. He came alone this time. No bodyguards, no witnesses. Just a man walking into a diner he thought was empty, probably looking for something he had left behind. Or maybe just checking to make sure the scene of his crime had been cleaned up properly. He never saw James Mason sitting in the shadows. "Going somewhere, Vincent?" Harmon spun around. His hand went to his waistband where James could see the outline of a pistol. Small caliber, probably a 9mm. The kind of gun men carried when they wanted to feel tough but didn't actually know how to fight. "Who the hell are you?" James stood slowly, stepped into the dim light from the street. He was wearing jeans and a dark jacket. No uniform, no insignia, just a man. But the way he moved, the way he held himself, told Vincent everything he needed to know. Military, dangerous, not someone to threaten. "I asked you a question." Vincent's voice tried for confidence but landed somewhere near panic. "Who are you?" "James Mason." "Eleanor's son." The color drained from Vincent's face. "The Army kid. I heard you ran off years ago." "I did. I came back. Little late, don't you think? Damage is done." James walked closer, slow, controlled, each step deliberate. Vincent backed up until he hit the counter. "You put your hands on my mother. Old bitch threw coffee in my face." "Stop calling her that, or what?" James was close now, close enough that Vincent could see his eyes. Cold, empty. The eyes of a man who had done terrible things and would do him again if necessary. "I spent 20 years in the Army Rangers. Learned a lot in that time. Learned how to track targets across 1,000 miles of desert. Learned how to neutralize threats without making a sound. Learned 47 different ways to hurt a man so badly he wishes he was dead, but survives just long enough to regret every choice that brought him to that moment." Vincent's hand moved toward his gun. "Don't." James's voice was soft, gentle almost. If you pull that weapon, I'll take it from you and make you eat it. And that's me being merciful. The hand stopped. Here's what's going to happen, Vincent. You're going to leave this town. Tonight, right now, you're going to quit your job with Blackwell. You're going to write a formal apology to my mother and publish it everywhere that video was shown. You're insane. I'm practical. James pulled out his phone, showed Vincent the screen. That video has 80 million views now. Your face is on every news channel in America. CNN did a whole segment on you, called you the face of corporate greed and violence against the elderly. So what? Vincent tried to sound defiant. I've got lawyers. Blackwell's got lawyers. Lawyers can't fix this. James scrolled through his phone. Your ex-wife gave an interview yesterday, talked about your anger issues, your drinking, the restraining order she filed in 2012. He kept scrolling. Your former employer in Nevada confirmed you were fired for assault. Your college roommate remembered the time you put someone in the hospital over a parking spot. Your own mother, Vincent. Your own mother told reporters she wasn't surprised by what you did. Shut up. You're finished. Everyone knows it except you. Blackwell knows it. That's why he stopped returning your calls. You're a liability now, dead weight. And men like Blackwell don't protect liabilities. They sacrifice them. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. James put his phone away. I've dealt with men like Blackwell my entire career. Rich, powerful, untouchable right up until they're not. And you know what happens to the people who do their dirty work when things fall apart? Vincent didn't answer. They go to prison while the boss walks free. They take the fall. They spend the rest of their lives in a cell thinking about how they got there, thinking about the moment they could have walked away but didn't. James stepped back, gave Vincent space. So here's your choice. Leave town tonight. Disappear. Start over somewhere else. Maybe you become a better person. Maybe you don't. But at least you're free. And if I don't, then you stay. You face the consequences of what you did. Assault charges, elder abuse, conspiracy. The FBI is already building a case against Blackwell. They'll want testimony. They'll want someone to flip. He paused. That someone could be you, or it could be the next guy Blackwell throws under the bus. Your choice. Vincent stood there shaking. His tough guy act completely gone now. Just a scared, middle-aged man who'd made terrible choices and was finally facing the bill. I didn't mean to hit her that hard, but you did. She made me so angry. That's not an excuse. I know. Vincent's voice cracked. God help me, I know. James watched him. This broken man, this bully who'd terrorized an old woman. Part of him wanted to hurt Vincent, wanted to make him feel every bit of pain Eleanor felt when his fist connected with her face. But Eleanor's voice was in his head. Promise me you'll try other ways first. 24 hours, James said. Be gone by then or I call the FBI myself. And Vincent, yeah, if I ever see you near my mother again, I won't be this nice. Vincent nodded, stumbled toward the door, stopped. For what it's worth, I am sorry. I really am. Tell that to her. Not me. Vincent left. The door chimed behind him. That same cheerful bell. Maya emerged from the kitchen where she'd been hiding. Do you think he'll actually leave? Honestly, I don't know. Men like him are unpredictable. Might run, might double down, might do something stupid. What if he goes to Blackwell, tells him you threatened him? James smiled without humor. I'm counting on it. Why? Because I want Blackwell to know I'm here. Want him to know Eleanor's not alone anymore. Want him to understand that every move he makes from now on has consequences. You're trying to provoke him. I'm trying to protect my mother. If that means making Blackwell nervous enough to make a mistake, then yes. Maya studied him. This man who'd appeared from nowhere, who moved like a soldier and talked like someone who'd seen the worst humanity had to offer and survived it. Your mother missed you, she said quietly. 8 years is a long time. I know. She talked about you sometimes, when it was slow. When she'd come in for coffee, she'd show me pictures on her phone. You in your uniform, you and your sister. She was so proud. James looked away. The mention of Lily still hurt like a fresh wound. I wasn't there when Lily died. I know, she told me. Did she tell you what she said to me at the funeral? That she was angry, That she blamed you, that she told you not to come back. James nodded. Did she tell you what she said after? No, Maya pulled out her own phone, found something, showed it to James. It was a text message from Eleanor, sent 3 years ago. If you ever see my son, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I was wrong. Tell him I love him and I never stopped loving him. And I pray every night he's safe and happy wherever he is. James read it 3 times. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I didn't know you existed until yesterday. Because your mother kept this private. Because some things are meant to be said face to face. She forgave me. She never stopped forgiving you. You're the one who couldn't forgive yourself. James handed back the phone. His eyes were wet. Thank you for showing me that. Thank you for coming back. She needed you. I needed her too. Took me 8 years to figure that out. They left the cafe together. Outside, Dusty Ridge was quiet. Streetlights cast long shadows. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. Normal. Peaceful. But James knew it was the kind of peace that came before a storm. Hawk was waiting at Eleanor's house when James returned. So were 15 other men. They sat in the living room and on the porch. Quiet, alert, professional. Report, James said. Perimeter is secure. Cameras and sensors operational. 2-man teams on watch rotation. No movement so far. Good. Any intel on Blackwell? Rodriguez found his corporate structure. Meridian Development Corporation. Registered in Nevada. 37 subsidiary companies. Shell corporations within shell corporations. Classic money laundering setup. Financial records? Working on it. But Chen found something interesting in the emails Maya provided. What? Blackwell's funding comes from pension investments. Retirement funds from 5 different states. He's using other people's retirement money to finance his projects. James felt his jaw tighten. So he's not just stealing land. He's stealing from retirees. Thousands of, maybe tens of thousands. If his casino project fails, those people lose everything. How did Maya get this information? Worked at the county clerk's office, had access to files, started copying everything when her grandmother was targeted by Blackwell's people. Smart woman, brave woman, Hawk corrected. She knew the risks. Where is she now? Inside with your mother. They're going through more documents. James walked into the house. Eleanor and Maya were at the kitchen table surrounded by papers. His mother looked tired. The bruises on her face had darkened to deep purple and black, but her eyes were alert, focused. Mom, you should rest. I'll rest when this is over. Eleanor didn't look up from the papers. Right now I'm helping Maya organize evidence. What kind of evidence? Property transfers. All 14 properties Blackwell acquired. Every single one sold below market value. Every single owner experienced accidents or threats before selling. Coincidence? Not a chance. Maya pulled out a spreadsheet. 3 owners died within 6 months of refusing to sell. Heart attacks officially. But all 3 were healthy before the stress started. That's murder. Can't prove it. But it's suspicious as hell. James sat down, looked at the evidence, looked at his mother's determined face. Why are you doing this, Mom? You could take Blackwell's money and leave. Buy a house somewhere safe. Somewhere he can't reach you. Eleanor finally looked up. Because this isn't just about me anymore. This is about every person Blackwell has hurt. Every family he's destroyed. Every retiree whose pension he's stealing. She touched the papers. And because your father built this house, because Lily grew up here, because running away means Blackwell wins, means bullies always win. And I won't accept that. James felt something swell in his chest. Pride. Love. Awe at this 76-year-old woman who refused to surrender. Okay, then we fight. But we do it smart. How? We build a case so airtight even Blackwell's lawyers can't break it. We get federal authorities involved. We expose everything. And if he comes at us before we're ready, then we defend, with overwhelming force if necessary. Eleanor reached across the table, took his hand. No killing, James, promise me. I promise to try. Not good enough. Mom, if they attack this house, if they threaten you, I can't promise I'll hold back. Then promise me this. Promise you'll exhaust every other option first. Promise you'll only use lethal force as an absolute last resort. James looked at his mother, at the woman who'd raised him to be better than violence, better than revenge. I promise. Good. Now help us organize these files. We have a lot of work to do. They worked through the night, James and Eleanor and Maya, and the team of veterans who'd come to protect a school teacher nobody else would defend. By dawn, they had a timeline, a pattern, a clear picture of Blackwell's operation. 14 properties acquired over 3 years, 48 documented incidents of intimidation, 3 suspicious deaths, $200 million in pension funds at risk. It was enough. James called his FBA contact just after sunrise. Special Agent Diana Torres answered on the second ring. Ghost. Been a while. Too long. I need a favor. What kind of favor? The kind where you take down a corrupt billionaire before he steals from thousands of retirees. I'm listening. James spent 20 minutes laying out everything they'd found. Torres listened without interrupting. When he finished, there was silence on the line. How solid is this evidence? Solid enough for warrants, maybe not enough for conviction yet, but enough to start. Send me everything. I'll brief my SAC this morning. Torres, there's something else. What? This is personal. Blackwell had my mother assaulted. I'm going to make sure he pays for that. Ghost, don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Don't go vigilante on me. Let the system work. The system let my mother get beaten in a cafe while 40 people watched. Excuse me if I don't have a lot of faith right now, then have faith in me. Torres's voice softened. I've known you for 12 years. You're a good man. Don't throw that away for revenge. This isn't revenge, it's justice. Sometimes those look the same. Make sure you know the difference. James hung up, looked at the evidence spread across the table, looked at his mother sleeping on the couch, finally resting after working all night. Hawk appeared beside him. FBI coming? Maybe, depends on how fast they can move. And if they can't move fast enough, then we handle it ourselves. Ghost, that's a bad idea. I know, but it's the only idea I've got. The attack came at 3 in the afternoon. James was outside checking the perimeter when the first shot rang out. High caliber, probably .300 Winchester Magnum. The bullet hit the dirt 6 inches from his foot. Contact, he shouted. Get inside now. The veterans moved with practiced efficiency. Within seconds, they were in defensive positions, windows covered, weapons ready. Eleanor pulled into the interior bathroom where there were no windows. James scanned the tree line 300 yards out, saw the glint of a scope. Sniper, southwest position, single shooter, another shot. This one hit the porch railing. Splinters exploded, still not aimed to kill. Warning shots. Hawk crawled to James's position. What do you want to do? Find out who's shooting and why. Could be Blackwell's people, or could be someone else. Either way, we need to know. James grabbed a radio. Chen, you got eyes on that position? Affirmative. One shooter, looks professional. Not moving yet. Can you get around behind him? Give me 10 minutes, do it. Non-lethal takedown if possible. I want him alive. Copy. The shooting stopped. James counted the seconds. 30, 40, 60, nothing. Either he's repositioning or he's done making his point. What point? Hawk asked. That they can reach us anytime they want. That we're not as safe as we think. James was right. 5 minutes later, Chen reported back. Shooter's gone. Found the brass, though. Military-grade ammunition, steel Viper markings. Blackwell's mercenaries. Looks like. Also found this. Chen held up a piece of paper weighted down by a rock. Photographed it and sent the image to James's phone. The message was simple. Last warning, leave town or the next shots won't miss. James showed it to Hawk. They're escalating. We knew they would. What now? Now we make sure Eleanor's protected. Double the guard. No one sleeps until we're clear. And Blackwell, let him make the next move. Every action he takes now is evidence. Every threat is another charge. He's building our case for us. Ghost, that's risky. Everything about this is risky. But we're not starting this fight. We're just going to finish it. That evening, Vincent Harmon came back. He arrived at Eleanor's house just after sunset. Alone, unarmed, hands visible and shaking. James met him at the property line. Thought I told you to leave town. I tried. Vincent's voice was broken. Got as far as New Mexico. Couldn't do it. Why not? Because running doesn't fix what I did. doesn't make it right. So what do you want? To apologize to your mother, face to face. James studied him, looked for deception, for tricks, saw only a broken man trying to find redemption. If this is a setup, if Blackwell sent you here to scope us out, I'll know, and you'll regret it. It's not. I swear, I just need to tell her I'm sorry. Wait here. James went inside, found Eleanor helping Maya prepare dinner, something normal in all this chaos. Mom, Vincent Harmon's outside, says he wants to apologize. Eleanor set down her knife, wiped her hands on a towel. Send him in. Are you sure? No, but do it anyway. Vincent came inside, stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure he deserved to enter. Eleanor looked at him, at the man who'd punched her, who'd made her bleed, who'd tried to steal her home. Sit, she said. Vincent sat. James stood behind him. Ready. I'm sorry. Vincent's voice cracked immediately. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Mason. What I did was unforgivable. There's no excuse, no justification. You're right, there isn't. I was angry, drunk, under pressure from Blackwell. But none of that matters. I hit you. I hurt you. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Eleanor was quiet for a long moment. Why are you really here, Vincent? Because I need to try to make this right. Because I've done terrible things for terrible people, and I can't do it anymore. He pulled papers from his jacket. These are internal Blackwell documents, communications, financial records, everything you need to prove what he's been doing. Fraud, intimidation, conspiracy. He set them on the table. I'm willing to testify, to cooperate with the FBI, to take whatever punishment I deserve. I just need you to know that I'm sorry, that I know what I did was wrong. Eleanor picked up the papers, looked through them. This is everything? Everything I could get, enough to put Blackwell away for decades. And you? Prison, probably. My lawyer says 5 to 10 years if I cooperate fully. Eleanor set down the papers, looked at this broken man sitting at her kitchen table. I forgive you. Vincent stared at her, disbelief on his face. What? I forgive you, Vincent. Not because you deserve it, because forgiveness isn't about deserving. It's about choosing not to carry hatred. But I hurt you. Yes, you did. And I'll carry these scars forever, but I won't carry the poison of hating you. Life's too short. I've already lost too much. She stood, walked to where he sat. You can't undo what you did, but you can choose who you become next. Choose better. Be better. Vincent broke down, completely, sobbed like a child. Eleanor let him cry, put a hand on his shoulder. This woman who had every right to hate him, showing him grace instead. James watched from the doorway, watched his mother demonstrate a strength he'd never fully appreciated. The strength to forgive, the strength to show mercy when revenge would be easier. He understood then why she'd told him not to kill, why she'd made him promise to try other ways first, because she was trying to save him, not from Blackwell, from himself, from becoming the kind of man who solved problems with violence instead of wisdom. Vincent left an hour later. The documents stayed. James and Maya started cataloging them immediately. Everything they needed, everything Torres would need to move forward. But James couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He was right. At 11 that night, black SUVs rolled into Dusty Ridge, 8 vehicles, tinted windows, professional drivers. Steel Viper security had arrived. Colonel Jack Mercer stepped out of the lead vehicle. 52 years old, former Special Forces, dishonorable discharge for excessive use of force. Now he ran a private military company that did the kind of work governments couldn't officially sanction. He'd brought 20 men, all former military, all trained killers, and they were setting up a command post at the sheriff's office. James got the report from Rodriguez. What are we looking at? Full tactical team, automatic weapons, body armor, military-grade communications. These guys aren't here to intimidate. They're here to operate. Rules of engagement? Unknown. But if Blackwell hired Steel Viper, he's done playing games. James looked at his mother sleeping peacefully in her bedroom, at Maya working on evidence in the kitchen, at the 15 veterans who'd come to protect them. Against 20 professional operators, the odds weren't good. His phone rang. Torres. Ghost, we've got a problem. What kind? Blackwell fled the country 3 hours ago. Private jet to Mexico. Hermosillo. Son of a bitch. We're working with Mexican authorities for extradition, but it could take weeks, maybe months. He can't get away with this, I know. But my hands are tied. International law, jurisdiction, red tape. What about the evidence Vincent gave us? It's good, really good. We can get warrants for everyone else. Harmon, the judge, local officials. But without Blackwell, we can't close the case. Then I'll bring him back. Ghost? No, that's kidnapping. That's international law violation. That's federal charges. I don't care. You should. You'll go to prison. Maybe. But Blackwell will face justice. Worth it. Torres was quiet. If you do this, I can't protect you. Never asked you to. Ghost, listen to me. Your mother needs you. Don't throw your life away. My mother needs Blackwell to pay for what he did. That's more important. He hung up, looked at Hawk. How fast can we get to Mexico? 4 hours by car, 2 by helicopter if we can find one. Get the team ready. We leave in 30 minutes. What about Eleanor? Frank Morrison stays with her, 20 men for security. They'll be safe. And if Steel Viper moves while we're gone, then they defend. With everything they've got. This is insane, Ghost. I know. But it's the only play we have left. James went to his mother's room, woke her gently. Mom, I have to go. Where? To bring Blackwell back. To finish this, Eleanor sat up, looked at him with fear in her eyes. You promised you'd stay, and I will. I'm coming back. But first I have to make sure he can't run, can't escape, can't hurt anyone else. James, this is dangerous. Everything worth doing is dangerous. Don't get killed at trying to protect me. I won't. I promise. They hugged, long and tight. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Be careful. Always. James left before she could argue further. The team was already assembled. Hawk, Rodriguez, Chen, Doc Williams, 8 others. All former Rangers or Special Forces, all ready to cross into Mexico and extract a billionaire criminal. It was insane. It was illegal. It was necessary. They loaded into 3 vehicles and drove into the night. Behind them, Dusty Ridge held its breath. Ahead of them, Mexico and Marcus Blackwell waited. And somewhere in between, the line between justice and revenge grew thinner with every mile. The drive to Mexico took 3 hours and 42 minutes. James sat in the passenger seat watching the desert fly past. Miles of empty highway, stars overhead. The kind of darkness that felt absolute. The kind that made you think about choices and consequences in the thin line between right and wrong. Hawk drove. Didn't speak. Didn't need to. They'd done this before. Different countries, different enemies, same mission. Extract a target. Bring them home. Let justice run its course. Except this time it was personal. This time the target had hurt James's mother. Rodriguez's voice came through the radio from the second vehicle. Ghost, I've got updated satellite imagery. Blackwell's compound is 15 miles outside Hermosillo. Private road, single entry point. Looks like 8 guards on the perimeter. Maybe more inside. Weapons? Unclear. But assume they're armed and professional. James pulled up the imagery on his tablet, studied the layout. Main house in the center. 2 outbuildings. Guard posts at the gate and corners. Security cameras everywhere. Chen, can you kill their system remotely? Negative. It's a closed network. I'll need physical access to their router. How close? Within 50 feet of the main house. Can you get that close without being spotted? With the right distraction, yes. James thought for a moment, calculated angles and timing and risk. Okay, here's the plan. Chen gets close under cover of darkness, kills their cameras and motion sensors. That gives us a 60-second window. We breach simultaneously from 2 points, front and back. Overwhelming force. Fast and clean. Rules of engagement? Rodriguez asked. Non-lethal unless forced otherwise. Tasers and flashbangs preferred. We're here to arrest, not execute. And if they shoot first, then we defend ourselves. But remember, every bullet we fire is evidence. Every body is a lawsuit. We do this right or we don't do it at all. Copy that. The convoy pulled off the main highway onto a dirt road 10 miles from the target. They parked in a dry riverbed, hidden from the road, hidden from satellites. James gathered the team, 12 men, All volunteers, all understanding the risks, listen up. What we're about to do is illegal in about 15 different ways. Crossing an international border to extract a foreign national without authorization. Trespassing, breaking and entering. Probably a dozen other charges I'm not thinking of. He looked at each man. Anyone wants out, now's the time. No judgment, no shame. Walk away and wait for us here. No one moved. Good. Then let's be clear about something else. We're not mercenaries. We're not criminals. We're soldiers doing what soldiers do. Protecting the innocent, stopping the guilty, making sure justice happens when the system can or won't. He pulled up the imagery again. Blackwell is inside that compound. He's a coward and a bully, and he thinks running to Mexico makes him safe. We're going to prove him wrong. We're going to extract him. Bring him back to Arizona. Turn him over to the FBI and let him face trial for everything he's done. What about Mexican authorities, someone asked. We'll be gone before they arrive, in and out in under 15 minutes. If we're fast and smart, no one gets hurt and no one goes to prison. Except Blackwell. Except Blackwell. They moved out at 0200 hours, silent, professional, ghosts in the darkness. Chen led the way, reached the compound perimeter at 0215, found the external junction box for the security system, spent 3 minutes bypassing the encryption. Systems down, he whispered into his radio. You've got 90 seconds before backup power kicks in. Copy, all teams move now. James led the front assault. Hawk took the rear. 6 men each. They covered the distance in 40 seconds. Reached the main house in perfect synchronization. Flashbang on my mark. 3, 2, 1, T. Execute. The world turned white and loud. James breached the front door. Swept right. Living room clear. Kitchen clear. Hallway ahead. Movement. A guard. Young. Scared. Reaching for his weapon. James tased him. The man went down twitching. Zip-tied. Neutralized. 2 more guards in the back bedroom. Rodriguez and Chen took them down with coordinated strikes. Non-lethal. Professional. Where's Blackwell? Hawk checked the master bedroom. Empty. Bathroom. Empty. Closet. Got something. False panel. They pulled it open. Behind it was a reinforced door. Panic room. He's in there. Chen examined the lock. Military-grade biometric scanner, reinforced steel frame. I can bypass it, but it'll take time. How much time? 5 minutes. Maybe 10. We don't have 10 minutes. James looked at the door. Thought about Eleanor, about the bruises on her face, about 8 years of running and hiding and failing the people he loved. Not anymore. Get it open. Whatever it takes. Chen worked while the team secured the rest of the house. Found 4 more guards. Neutralized them all without firing a shot. Bound them, gagged them, left them in the living room. Done. Chen stepped back from the panic room door. It's open. James pulled it wide. Marcus Blackwell sat inside. 62 years old. Expensive suit even here. Satellite phone in one hand, pistol in the other. Stay back. I've called the Federales. They'll be here in minutes. Put the gun down, Mr. Blackwell. You're trespassing. This is my property. This is a citizen's arrest. Put the gun down. Blackwell's hands shook. The gun wavered. You can't do this. You have no authority here. James stepped forward, slowly, hands visible but ready. You had my mother beaten. You terrorized a town. You stole from thousands of people. Now you're going to face justice for it. I'll pay you. $20 million. 30. Whatever you want. You can't buy your way out of this. Everyone has a price. Not me, and not the men behind me. We're not here for money. We're here because you hurt someone we're sworn to protect. Blackwell raised the gun, pointed it at James's chest. Then I guess one of us doesn't leave this room. James didn't flinch, didn't stop moving forward. Shoot me if you think it'll help. But there are 11 highly trained operators in this house. You kill me, they kill you. Is that how you want this to end? The gun shook harder. I built an empire. I'm not losing it to some washed-up army grunt and his stupid old mother. My mother is the strongest person I've ever met, and she's worth 1,000 of you. Blackwell's finger moved to the trigger. Then James's phone rang. He answered it. Put it on speaker. Eleanor's voice filled the panic room. James, are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. Did you find him? Yes, and he's deciding right now whether he wants to face justice like a man or die like a coward. Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Mr. Blackwell, this is Eleanor Mason speaking, the woman you had beaten in a cafe, the woman whose home you tried to steal. Blackwell stared at the phone. I want you to know something, Eleanor continued. Her voice was calm, strong. I forgive you. What? I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because hatred is poison. And I won't let you poison me anymore. She paused. But forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences. You need to face what you've done, not for me, for every person you have hurt, for your own soul. Blackwell's eyes were wet now. Put down the gun, Eleanor said. Go with my son, face your trial, take your punishment, and maybe someday you can become a better man than you are right now. I can't go to prison. I won't survive it. You're stronger than you think. Everyone is. I'm sorry. Blackwell's voice cracked. I'm so sorry for what I did. Then prove it. Show the world you can take responsibility for your actions. That's how you start to make this right. The gun lowered, slowly, dropped to the floor. Blackwell collapsed, put his face in his hands, sobbed. James moved in, zip-tied his hands behind his back, pulled him to his feet. James, Eleanor's voice. Got him, Mom, coming home without killing him? Without killing him. That's my boy. Now hurry back. The pot roast is getting cold. James smiled despite everything. Yes, ma'am. See you soon. They had Blackwell in the SUV 4 minutes later. The guards were still zip-tied in the living room. They'd cut themselves free eventually, call the Mexican police, report what happened. But by then, James and his team would be across the border. Sirens wailed in the distance. Getting closer. Time to move, Hawk said. They drove fast, pushed the vehicles hard across the desert roads, hit the border crossing at 0432. U.S. Border Patrol was waiting. Agent Torres had arranged temporary credentials, plausible deniability. As far as anyone official knew, these men were private security escorting a U.S. citizen who wanted to return home voluntarily. Marcus Blackwell, you're under arrest. Torres read him his rights while her team took custody. Fraud, racketeering, conspiracy, elder abuse, theft, the list went on. How did you know? Blackwell asked. His face was blank, defeated. How did you convince the federales to let them cross? I didn't. Torres smiled. You came back voluntarily, isn't that right, Mr. Blackwell? Blackwell understood. If he claimed kidnapping, international incident, extradition battles, years in Mexican prison first. If he agreed he returned voluntarily, at least he'd face trial in the U.S. Maybe get a decent lawyer. Maybe negotiate a deal. Yes, I came back voluntarily. Thought so. Torres looked at James. Go home, Mr. Mason. Your mother's waiting. We'll take it from here. The others? What others? I see one suspect in custody. How he got here is his problem to explain. She winked. Thank you, Agent Torres. Thank your mother. She's the real hero. James smiled. I know. The drive back to Dusty Ridge took longer. They were tired now, adrenaline wearing off, the weight of what they'd done settling in. You think we'll get charged? Rodriguez asked. Honestly? I don't know. James stared out at the sunrise. Depends on how good Torres is at making this look legal. Was it worth it? James thought about his mother, about the video of her being beaten, about Blackwell fleeing to Mexico thinking he could escape justice. Yeah, it was worth it. They reached Eleanor's house at 07:15. The sun was fully up now, warm Arizona morning, the kind of day that felt like a new beginning. Eleanor was waiting on the porch, still in her robe, coffee in hand. She looked tired, worried. But when she saw James step out of the vehicle, her face transformed. Relief, joy. Well, James walked to her, climbed the porch steps, stood in front of the woman who'd raised him. It's done, he said. Blackwell's in custody. He's going to face trial. He's going to pay for what he did. Anyone hurt? No one. We kept our promise. Non-lethal force only. Eleanor set down her coffee, hugged him tight. I was so scared. I thought I was going to lose you again. Never. I'm done running, Mom. I'm done leaving. I'm here and I'm staying. For how long? Forever. Or as long as you'll have me. Eleanor pulled back, looked at him with tears in her eyes. I'll always have you. You're my son. That doesn't change, never changes. They stood there, mother and son, holding each other while the team quietly dispersed, giving them space, giving them time. Maya came out with fresh coffee for everyone. Doc Williams checked James for injuries, found bruises, scratches, nothing serious. You got lucky, Doc said. We all did. The next 3 months moved fast. Marcus Blackwell's trial became national news. The billionaire who terrorized a small town, the elderly woman who refused to surrender, the son who came home after 8 years to protect her. Cable news ran segments every night. Pundits debated vigilante justice versus systemic failure. Social media exploded with opinions. But in Dusty Ridge, life slowly returned to normal. The FBI arrested 17 people total: Blackwell, Vincent Harmon, Judge Patterson, 2 county commissioners, a dozen others involved in the conspiracy. The evidence Maya and Vincent had was overwhelming. Vincent pled guilty, agreed to testify against Blackwell in exchange for a reduced sentence, 5 years, eligible for parole in 3. Before he was sent to prison, he came to see Eleanor one last time. She met him on her porch, the same porch where everything had started to change. I'm going away for a while, Vincent said. Just wanted to say goodbye. And thank you. For what? For forgiving me, for showing me there's another way to be, for giving me hope that I can be better. Eleanor nodded. Use your time well, Vincent. Read, learn, grow. And when you get out, do something good with your life. I will, I promise. He left. Eleanor watched him go. This man who'd hurt her, who tried to destroy her, who was now trying to become someone better. James stood beside her. You really forgave him? I really did. How? Because hate is exhausting, and life's too short to waste on people who aren't worth my energy. She looked at James. Besides, I needed to practice forgiving. Had someone else I needed to forgive too? Who? You? James felt his throat tighten. Mom, I don't deserve your forgiveness. Neither did Vincent. That's not how forgiveness works. She took his hand. You left because I told you to. You stayed away because you thought I hated you. But I never hated you. I was angry. I was hurting. I was wrong. You weren't wrong. I should have been there when Lily died. You were serving your country, doing your duty, being exactly the man your father and I raised you to be. I had no right to punish you for that. I still should have come back sooner. Yes, Eleanor smiled. You should have. But you're here now, and that's what matters. They sat together on the porch, drank coffee, watched the town wake up. What are you going to do now? Eleanor asked. Stay here? Go back to Montana? I thought I'd stay. If that's okay, more than okay, I could help with the house, fix the things that need fixing. Maybe get a job in town. What kind of job? James shrugged. Haven't thought that far ahead. Something useful, something that helps people. Like your father, like you. Eleanor squeezed his hand. He'd be proud of you. Everything you've done. Everything you've become. I hope so. I know so. The trial lasted 6 weeks. James testified on day 12, told the jury about the video, about his mother's injuries, about the pattern of intimidation and fraud, about Vincent's confession and the documentary evidence. The defense tried to paint him as a vigilante, a dangerous man who'd crossed international borders to kidnap their client. But Torres had done her job well, made the Mexico extraction look legal, made it seem like Blackwell had voluntarily returned. The jury didn't buy the defense's story. On day 41, they reached a verdict, guilty on all 47 counts. The sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Sarah Henderson presiding. She was 70 years old, no connection to Blackwell, no history of corruption. She looked at Marcus Blackwell, standing before her. Mr. Blackwell, I've been a judge for 32 years. I've seen a lot of criminals in that time. Rich ones, poor ones, violent ones, nonviolent ones. But I've rarely seen someone who caused as much systematic harm as you have. She read from her notes. 48 documented cases of intimidation, 14 families displaced, 3 deaths that may or may not be connected to your activities, $200 million in pension funds placed at risk, and an elderly woman beaten in a public place because she refused to surrender her home. Blackwell stood silent. You used your wealth and power not to build, not to create, not to help, but to destroy, to take, to harm anyone who stood in your way. The law allows me discretion in sentencing. I could give you 20 years. I could give you 30. She paused. I'm giving you life in federal prison without possibility of parole. Gasped from the gallery. You will spend the rest of your natural life behind bars, Mr. Blackwell. You will never again threaten an innocent person. You will never again use your money to buy justice or escape consequences. And maybe if you use your time well, you'll become a fraction of the man Eleanor Mason already is. Court adjourned. Blackwell was led away in chains, didn't look back, didn't fight, just walked like a man who'd finally accepted his fate. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Eleanor and James. Mason, how do you feel about the verdict? Eleanor looked at the cameras, at the reporters, at the world watching. I feel relieved, not happy, not vengeful, just relieved that it's over. That Mr. Blackwell will face consequences. That other families won't suffer what we suffered. Do you forgive him? I do. But that doesn't mean I wanted him to walk free. Forgiveness and justice aren't opposites. They're partners. What about you, Mr. Mason? The reporters turned to James. Do you have any regrets about how you handled this? James thought about Mexico, about the border crossing, about the thin line between right and wrong. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that the system moved so slowly my mother was in danger. I regret that I had to choose between the law and protecting someone I love. He looked at Eleanor. But I don't regret coming home. I don't regret standing up for what's right. And I don't regret making sure Marcus Blackwell faced justice. They walked away from the cameras together. Maya joined them. She'd been in the courtroom for the verdict, crying with relief. It's really over, she said. Not quite. Eleanor smiled. We still have work to do. What work? Making sure this never happens again. 1 month after the trial, Eleanor announced the Lily Mason Foundation, named for her daughter, funded partially by the compensation Eleanor received from Blackwell's seized assets. Its mission was simple: protect elderly homeowners from predatory developers, provide free legal assistance, document cases of intimidation, connect victims with resources. James ran the day-to-day operations. Maya handled outreach and communications. Doc Williams volunteered medical services for victims of violence. Within 6 months, they'd helped 43 families across Arizona. Within a year, they'd expanded to 3 states. Vincent Harmon wrote to Eleanor from prison, asked if he could help somehow, make amends. Eleanor wrote back, told him to start a program for inmates, teaching them construction skills, job training, ways to rebuild their lives after release. Vincent did exactly that, called it Second Chances Construction. By the time he was eligible for parole, 63 inmates had completed the program. 41 had found jobs within 3 months of release. Redemption wasn't instant, wasn't easy, but it was possible. 2 years after the trial, Eleanor sold her land, not to a developer, to the town. Dusty Ridge turned it into a community park, named it Mason Memorial Park, built playgrounds and walking trails and a small amphitheater for summer concerts. Eleanor kept the house. James lived there with her, fixed it up, painted the exterior, repaired the porch, planted new flowers in the boxes. It looked like home again. Maya visited often, sometimes for work, sometimes just to talk. She and James had grown close, not romantic exactly, but something deeper: partnership, friendship, the kind of bond forged in crisis and tempered in its aftermath. You ever think about going back to Montana? She asked one evening. They sat on the porch watching sunset. Eleanor was inside making dinner. Sometimes. James sipped his coffee. When things get loud, when the foundation work gets overwhelming, I think about the quiet, the solitude, but then I remember why I left Montana in the first place. Because solitude isn't peace, it's just hiding. And you're done hiding, done hiding, done running, done choosing my pain over my family. He looked at the house, at the light in the kitchen where his mother was cooking, at the town beyond where people were living their lives. This is where I belong. Maya smiled. Good, because we need you here. The foundation? That too. But I meant your mother needs you, the town needs you. I need you. James looked at her. Need me for what? For reminding us what it looks like to do the right thing, even when it's hard. Even when it costs you. I didn't do the right thing. I broke about 15 laws bringing Blackwell back. You did what was necessary, and you did it for the right reasons. That counts for something. Eleanor called from inside. Dinner's ready. They went in together, sat at the table Eleanor had owned for 40 years, ate pot roast and potatoes and green beans, talked about the foundation, about the families they'd helped, about the new cases coming in. Normal conversation, normal life. But underneath it, something profound. Three people who'd been broken by loss and trauma and injustice, who'd found each other, who'd fought together, who were healing together. That night after Maya left and Eleanor went to bed, James stood on the porch alone. He thought about Lily, about the 8 years he'd spent running from her memory, about the guilt that had nearly destroyed him. He thought about his father, about the man who'd built this house with his own hands, who'd taught James about duty and honor and standing up for what's right. He thought about Eleanor, about her strength, her forgiveness, her unwavering belief that people could be better than their worst moments. And he thought about himself, about the choices he'd made, about Mexico and Blackwell and the thin line between justice and revenge. He'd crossed that line, maybe, hard to say, but he'd come back from it, hadn't let the darkness consume him, hadn't become the kind of man who solved every problem with violence. His phone buzzed, text from Hawk. Heard the foundation hit 100 families helped. Proud of you, brother. James smiled, typed back. Couldn't have done it without you, without all of you. That's what brothers are for. You need us again. We're there, I know, thank you. He put the phone away, looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there were men he'd served with, men he'd fought beside, men who'd answered his call when he needed them. Brothers, family. Not by blood, by choice. The door opened behind him, Eleanor in her robe. Can't sleep, she asked. Just thinking about everything. Lily, Dad, the last 2 years. Heavy thoughts. Good thoughts, though. Grateful thoughts. Eleanor joined him at the railing, looked out at the town. I'm proud of you, James, everything you've done, the foundation, staying here, choosing to be present. I'm just trying to make up for lost time. You can't make up for it, Eleanor's voice was gentle. You can only move forward. Is that enough? It's everything. They stood together in comfortable silence, mother and son, healed, whole. Finally, Eleanor spoke again. Your father used to stand here. Every night before bed, he'd look at the town, at the stars, and he'd say a prayer. What did he pray for? Strength to do right, wisdom to know what right was, and courage to face whatever came. James felt tears in his eyes. Those are good prayers, they are. Mom, yes, thank you for not giving up on me, for forgiving me, for letting me come home. Eleanor took his hand. You're my son. There's nothing to forgive. You were always home. You just had to find your way back. And I did. Yes, you did. They went inside together, turned off the lights, went to their rooms. James lay in his childhood bed, in the room where he'd grown up, where he dreamed about being a soldier, about serving his country, about being a hero. He'd done all those things, but he'd learned something important. Heroism isn't about combat, isn't about medals or glory or public recognition. It's about showing up, about staying, about choosing the hard right over the easy wrong. It's about forgiveness, both giving it and accepting it. It's about family, about protecting the people you love, about being present for them, about being home. James closed his eyes. For the first time in 8 years, he slept without nightmares. 3 years after the trial, Vincent Harmon was released on parole. He came to Dusty Ridge, not to stay, just to visit, to thank Eleanor in person. She met him at the park, the one built on her old land. They sat on a bench near the playground, watched children playing. You look different, Eleanor said. I feel different. Prison changes you, sometimes for worse, sometimes for better. Which was it for you? Better, I hope. Time will tell. He looked at the playground. I'm starting a business, construction, helping people rebuild homes, renovations, repairs, honest work. That's good. I wanted to ask if I could do some work for you, free of charge, fix whatever needs fixing around your house. Vincent, you don't have to do that, I know. But I want to, need to. Eleanor thought about it. Okay, but you let me pay you. Fair wages, no charity, deal. They shook hands. This woman and the man who'd once hurt her, finding a way forward, together. Over the next 6 months, Vincent did beautiful work on Eleanor's house. New roof, new porch, repaired the foundation, painted everything. James worked alongside him sometimes. Didn't talk much, just worked. Two men with complicated pasts building something good. One afternoon while they were taking a break, Vincent spoke. I think about that day in the cafe all the time. James didn't respond. I think about how easy it would have been to walk away, to tell Blackwell no, to choose different. But you didn't. No, I didn't. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life. Good. Vincent looked at him. Good? Yeah. Good. James met his eyes. Regret means you learn something, means you won't make the same mistake again. That's how we get better. Your mother said something similar. She's a smart woman. The smartest, Vincent smiled. She saved my life, showing me forgiveness, giving me a chance to be better. She has that effect on people. They went back to work. The sound of hammers and saws filling the afternoon. Building, creating, healing. 5 years after the trial, Eleanor Mason turned 81 years old. The town threw her a party. Massive celebration in the park that bore her family's name. 200 people came. Former students, friends, people the foundation had helped. James watched his mother laugh and dance and accept hugs from an endless line of well-wishers. She looked happy, truly happy. Maya stood beside him. She's an amazing woman, always has been. I just forgot for a while. You remembered when it mattered. Barely. James shook his head. I almost stayed away, almost let fear win. But you didn't. No, I didn't. They watched Eleanor cut her cake, make a wish, blow out candles while everyone sang. What did you wish for? Someone asked. Eleanor smiled mysteriously. Can't tell you or it won't come true. Later that night, after everyone left and the park was cleaned up and Eleanor was home in bed, James asked her, what did you really wish for? Eleanor looked at him, at her son who'd come home, who'd stayed, who'd built a life here. I wish that this feeling would last forever. This peace, this wholeness, the sense that everything turned out the way it was meant to. It will, Mom, I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. I can keep this one. She hugged him. I love you, James. I love you too, Mom. 10 years after the trial, Eleanor Mason passed away peacefully in her sleep. She was 86 years old, healthy until the end, sharp-minded, strong-spirited. She simply went to bed one night and didn't wake up. James found her in the morning, called Doc Williams. They both cried. The funeral was massive. 500 people, former students now in their 50s and 60s. People the foundation had helped. Veterans who'd stood guard outside her house all those years ago. Vincent Harmon came, sat in the back, cried quietly. Maya delivered the eulogy. Eleanor Mason was the strongest person I ever knew. Not because she could fight, but because she chose not to. Not because she held grudges, but because she chose forgiveness. She taught us that strength isn't about power, it's about grace. It's about standing up for what's right, even when it costs you everything. She taught us that justice and mercy aren't opposites, that you can demand accountability while still offering redemption. She taught us that home isn't a place. It's the people who love you, who forgive you, who never give up on you. Eleanor taught us how to be better, and the world is darker without her light. They buried her next to her husband, next to the daughter she'd lost too soon. James stood at the grave after everyone left, alone with his thoughts. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for raising me, for forgiving me, for showing me what real strength looks like. He knelt, touched the fresh earth. I'll keep the foundation going. I'll help people the way you help people. I'll try to be the man you always believed I could be. The wind rustled through the trees, warm, gentle. James smiled through his tears. Rest well, Mom. You earned it. He stood, walked back to the house. His house now. Inside, Maya was waiting. She'd moved in 2 years ago. They'd gotten married a year after that. Quiet ceremony, just friends and family. Eleanor had been the happiest person there. You okay? Maya asked. No, but I will be. She hugged him, held him while he cried. She loved you so much, I know. And I loved her. She knows that too. They sat together on the porch, the same porch where everything had changed a decade ago, where Eleanor had stood bruised and beaten but unbroken, where forgiveness had been offered and accepted, where a family had healed. James looked at the town, at the life he'd built here, at the foundation that helped hundreds of families every year, at the community that had become his home. Eleanor was gone, but her legacy remained. In every family the foundation helped, in every person who chose forgiveness over revenge, in every act of grace and mercy and strength, in James himself, the man he'd become, not perfect, not without regrets, but present, committed, home. The sun set over Dusty Ridge. The sky turned gold and orange and red. Beautiful, peaceful, home. James closed his eyes, felt the evening breeze, heard the distant sounds of the town settling in for night, and he whispered one last thank you to the woman who taught him everything that mattered, about forgiveness, about strength, about choosing to be better than your worst moments, about coming home, the end. Not all heroes wear uniforms. Some wear aprons and teach third grade. Some stand on porches refusing to surrender. Some show grace when revenge would be easier. Eleanor Mason was a hero, not because she fought, but because she forgave. Not because she was fearless, but because she faced her fear and chose love anyway. Not because she never fell, but because she always got back up. This is her story, and the story of a son who learned that the bravest thing a man can do isn't running toward danger. It's running toward home. Even when you're 80 years late, even when you're not sure you're welcome, even when forgiveness seems impossible, you run toward home anyway, because home is where someone waits for you. Home is where forgiveness lives. Home is where broken things are made whole. James Mason found his way home, and in doing so, he found himself. That's not just a story, that's redemption.